Hey y'all, I'm Chase Clemens, and this is the Support Op Hangout. This is a show that helps you deliver a better support experience to your customers. Now, as always, we've got some awesome support pros that are going to kind of walk you through all the fun things for this week. Jeff is out, so you got the 3 C's so far. Well, we say Jeff is out. He might show up. We don't know. It's a surprise. We're going to find out.
There's Jeff.
Speaking of, there's Jeff in his cold weather gear. Like, is it snowing?
Yeah, we have our first snow of the year, which means everything is shut down. Yeah, I did not bike today because the weather was not good enough, and then I remembered how awful public transportation is if we get like half an inch of snow. It's pandemonium everywhere. People trying to fight to get on the subway. It's crazy.
Did you get your milk and bread, though? Because that's the most important part.
And eggs.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, no, I did. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fed. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sure. I let Sherm out for literally 30 seconds so he could just pee once, so he's probably going to be a little nuts, but we're good. We're ready.
The one episode where you really want to watch the video for this one. Next up is Carolyn. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Like you, I'm recovering from a cold, so I'll try and mute myself when I have to clear my throat, but forgive me.
Yeah, we all caught something somewhere. It's Thanksgiving. I blame it on Thanksgiving every time. Like, you go home with family and then you come home with the plague. But I was telling Carolyn earlier, I've got this like nice, silky smooth DJ Chase at the, whatever midnight radio jam session. So that's fun.
I like it. I'm digging it.
Oh, and then the other Chase Livingston. How are you?
I'm good. I just have my normal silky smooth radio voice.
Right?
I was so waiting for that.
I could not agree more.
If we could only have that voice.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. So this week in our book club episodes has us looking at Jay Baer's Hug Your Haters. If you haven't seen his TED Talk, not TED Talk, it's like a regular talk, I guess, or read the book or seen the website or whatever else, we wanted to give you just a kind of quick synopsis here I stole it straight up from Amazon. So Amazon says the near universal adoption of smartphones and social media has fundamentally altered the science of complaints. Critics, and I don't know why, but they have #haters, can now express their displeasure faster and more publicly than ever. These trends have resulted in an overall increase in complaints and a belief by many businesses that they have to pick their spots when choosing to answer criticisms. Best-selling author Jay Baer shows why that approach is a major mistake, and we're going to be talking about that. For those that haven't seen it, here's the cover. Again, this is why you watch the video, because it's got that nice little that emoji right there, which I thought was really cool. Plus, for those of you that did buy the book, it has a poster inside. A poster, the Hatrix, which I guess you're supposed to take out and hang on your wall, which I wouldn't do because it's an infographic, but it's there. It's there for when you want it.
Kindle version.
Oh, Kindle version. Also, we were joking about it earlier. This is one of the few books that comes with a built-in Spark Notes at the very back, because it has this whole easy reference guide that basically is just a summary of the whole book. So you could buy it and just read the summary, which I guess would be nice. All right, Carolyn, you were excited on this one. Where do you want to start?
Where do I want to start? There were a couple things there's a couple things about his sort of Hug Your Haters message that were illuminating for me, and one in particular that I told you in advance I wanted to argue. I really appreciated the distinction between offstage haters, like people who just message you privately and how they want an answer, versus more like Yelp review, even borderline, even sometimes tweets, and they more want an audience. And that was a really, I've been doing support for how many years? I did Twitter support exclusively for some of that. It just had never occurred to me in that way. And it was a little bit of a light bulb going off. These people are looking for something very fundamentally different than the folks who send a private message or an app mention that is more of a a reply than a regular mention. And that I think is a fun one to dissect a little bit. And then should I tell you the thing that I want to argue?
Let's stick with that one
Okay.
to start. Chase, with Jetpack support and automatic and all that, do you find the same thing? Like, is there a very clear distinction between people that, just want to complain and they tend to complain publicly versus like people that are actually looking for an answer that do so through private channels?
I don't know if there's necessarily like a clear cut difference. I mean, Jetpack I think is, at least in the WordPress world, one of the plugins that everybody loves to hate. So we sort of deal with this a lot. I think there's a variety of reasons. People want to say it's bloated and does too much, or it gets special treatment because it's from Automatic, or all these kinds of things. And so we definitely deal with a lot of public hate. I mean, obviously the people who do want help usually do find our contact form and contact us privately. But, I manage, and one of the folks that sort of manages our like Twitter replies and stuff. And there are just as many, genuine people that are just looking for help there too. I've also intermixed with people who just, say nasty things about Jetpack. So there's quite a mix.
Yeah. So he talks about it in the book a little bit, but I kind of want to get your thoughts, like how, and this will lead into Carolyn's kind of challenge cake that she was going to throw. Like, how do you know which people really do want to reply versus like those that are just straight up trolling is a little bit of a harsh term, but people that are just like, trying to air their criticism in public?
Who is that for?
Oh, I was going for Chase Livingston, but anybody, go for it.
Go Chase Livingston.
Repeat the question one more time. I want to make sure I answer that properly. Yeah,
so you talked about some of the Jetpack supporters who just love to hate on it, I think is how you phrase that. Like, how do you know those people that are just like complaining to complain? Like, how do you separate them from people that are honestly complaining but also looking for an answer? Like, how? And so Jay's argument would be reply to everybody. Like, don't make the distinction, reply to everybody. What do you do?
Yeah, I think sometimes we take that route, but honestly, most of us know who a lot of our public haters are. Like, we just recognize their Twitter handle or something when it comes across. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to reply to them. I mean, if we think we can have an opportunity to provide a good answer, obviously that's going to be public for other people to see, then we'll obviously take that opportunity. But if it's something that, they're just complaining and there's not really a solution, or they're not really asking a question that we can answer or whatever, we may not. If it's somebody that, we've interacted with in the past and have tried to, convert or turn into a happy user or whatever the case may be. So that's sort of one of the ways is honestly, we just recognize people who we've had, discussions with in the past. But other than that, we do our best to answer every question that comes across.
So if you're like a new hater on the block, like benefit of the doubt, maybe you're not like, maybe you get an answer.
Yeah, you'll get I mean, yeah, if it's not, if you don't have a long track record like some of our haters do, then yeah, you'll definitely, hear from somebody.
Also, free band name for anybody out there, New Haters on the Block. Like, come on, that's great. Jeff, we'll switch real quick over to Wistia. Like, how do you approach social media and kind of those public stages there with Wistia? Like, how do you engage with everybody that complains about whatever, I don't know, Wistia being slow, or I don't know, horrible, bloated, whatever, insert your own adjective.
And what is that adjective?
Yeah. There are many.
Not YouTube.
Depends on the day. I think generally our approach is acknowledge everything, but recognize when someone is saying, I just want to yell about this problem, versus when someone is saying, I want to dig in here because this is affecting my business. And that those are two separate things regardless of the channel that they use. Some people are just saying things that could be applied to. So our product is video. Video can buffer sometimes. It can be slow. We want to eliminate that, but we can eliminate only, 90% of it. There's going to be times where someone's saying, hey, we've gotten the support. Hey, I'm in Brazil and our power's out and I can't load your video, right? Something like that. All of our internet is down and your video stopped working, and now I don't remember where I was in the middle of this really long video. Like, you suck.
Oh,
And in those cases, that person's pretty frustrated about a number of things, and probably what they're looking for is something as simple as, man, what a bummer that happened. Like, we hate when that happens. In other cases, somebody's saying, like, I'm seeing an error related to Wistia that's affecting this, this product that I'm launching. Help. And it's a complaint and a request all wrapped into one. And in those cases, we direct them to support.
So, that's right. You don't do support. You don't let them jump the line over Twitter, right?
No, I don't know. I guess kind of like, no, we don't. And I don't think it's a good idea.
No jumping.
Well, no jumping. Also, like, no setting expectation that support can be done over Twitter, because in most cases, support can't be done over Twitter. If for us,
Yeah, we find that with Jetpack too. I mean, we have a pretty complex product that, honestly, we're trying to support on an almost infinite number of like different, hosts and server setups and stuff. So a lot of times we can't answer the question on Twitter, and if we can answer it in 140 or however many characters, we do. But more often than not, I feel like we're, just, apologizing or whatever appropriate response is, and then sending them a link and asking them to contact us through our contact form so we can, handle them. And then they, honestly get put in line with everybody else. So that's sort of how we have to approach it too.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my biggest criticism. Criticism's a little bit harsh, but with Jay, it was very clear, like, if they're offstage haters that are contacting you privately, stick with the channel that they contact you through. So if it's on Twitter, stick with Twitter. If it's on Facebook, stick with Facebook or whatnot. But use the private messaging options that those usually have. If it's on stage, then you get the reply twice and then switch channels from there. That's, there's apps and products out there that's promising to bring, like, all these different customer conversations against all these different channels into one place. But that's hard to do. So I think for Basecamp anyways, we're pretty much like automatic. It's, if it's an easy answer, like, here's a link over to the help guide that'll answer your question, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, that's fine. But otherwise, we're switching channels, and it's not just for haters. It's for everybody, because we find that, for some questions and answers, like, email's just better. Live chat's just better than trying to have that in a 140 character tweet. Now we're going to get all sorts of, like, oh, but you use this product or you use this thing that gives you extra characters in Twitter and all that. Yeah, I totally get that. But for your average, like, company here, let's be real. Like,
shout out to Respond.
Yeah, you're probably not going out and spending like $1,000 a month for Salesforce or something like that just to, like, make sure your Facebook answers match your Twitter answers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're using Respond for pretty much everything at Automatic, and it's great. But like you said, there are some questions that are just better dealt with over email a lot of times. At least that's the way we view it for our products.
Sorry, what was that app again?
I think it's called Respond by Buffer or something like that.
Okay.
But some company Buffer.
some random. Carolyn, what's the mailing address where I should send that invoice for the free ad placement there?
I'll get back to you on that. One cloud way.
Oh. All right. Let's throw down the cake, because that was the first thing Carolyn had mentioned was the 2 replies. So Jay says public haters, maximum of 2 replies. So the example was, you've got, I think he used the name Chad in his book. And I was like, that's way too close to Chase. That's not cool.
The guy who bullied him in high school.
Yeah, Chad. Chad had a complaint and was obviously an onstage hater. And in this hypothetical example, the company reaches out and says, something along the lines of, sorry, we didn't live up to your expectations. Like, let us know how we can make this right. Chad comes back, and again, just very hate, hashtag hate. And,
Haterade.
Yeah, haterade. And then the company comes back and offers again, let us know how we can, like, make this right. And that was the channel switch that he was talking about too. They switched channels away to a private channel, and that was it. He said 2 replies max. That's done. Carolyn said, so what's the cake?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of wisdom in that. Don't be the trolls and all that. I do think that sometimes continuing to respond can prolong a situation that you're never going to make better. I've especially had that when it's not about the product, when it's like more of a personal issue, like if somebody hasn't been hired and is not happy about that, or like or you know is frustrated with some portion of that process, or you know, something like that can also be sort of unfixable. So there are certain situations where that's wise. In fact, probably most. I just have had the experience of being absolutely skewered by trying to move to a private channel. Like,
do tell more.
Like, I've just had, well, I mean, it's happened so many times that like I really hesitate to do it now. And I think our Twitter team would agree with this generally, is that, you know, you move to private channels for if it's going to be beneficial for the customer, like if you have to do sensitive information, or if you do want to use more than 140 characters, and DMing is sometimes easier for that. However, if it's to benefit you, you can sometimes get some customer service shame for that. You know? Trying to say like, oh, let's move this offline so that it doesn't affect our search results. You know, like that sort of feeling can be really icky to customers. So when in doubt, my recommendation would be to use that with care.
So the big thing there was not the number of replies, it's more the move.
Right. It's more the concept of moving to a private channel. Yeah. And stopping replying after 2. Yeah. I think in a lot of cases, you need to stick with it in the channel publicly. Because people do follow along. People there are like total Twitter gossips out there who like watch, you know, because
Wait, Twitter gossips, that's a thing?
Yeah, it's like just like watching any 2 people fight, right?
I find myself following along with interesting drama sometimes on
right?
Twitter. It's funny to see what happens.
Right.
I guess.
Like, it's interesting.
So there was Chase Livingston and I were talking before we started recording about the example in the book where the lady had ordered roses and they weren't the right roses on her wedding day, and then they ordered them for the anniversary and they still weren't the right wedding roses that day, and so she sent them the flower company an email, and they, you know, really nice email, I thought. I mean, the text of it's in the book, and then they wrote back basically like, stop contacting us. And then she posted that on Instagram, and I didn't see it at first, but Chase brought up, you know, like I shared the link with him, and he was like, have you seen these comments? They're crazy. Like it's just insane, like the back and forth, like what they're saying and everything. And I didn't realize it, but I guess that, like, for a moment there, that's straight up, I guess, Instagram gossip at that point.
Yeah, the company like called her a psychopath and on Instagram, like from the company account. It was insane.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. And I guess, so for me personally, I'm going to need a minute to think through this more. Jeff, what do you think on that?
Calling someone insane?
No, not on that. That's just generally
I'm all about that.
Don't do that.
I do that 2 or 3 times a day.
That's what it was.
Oh, that's just Jeff being Jeff.
That's why
as
I got
far
fired as a social person.
The 2 max replies and the switch to the private channel. What do you think there? Like, you know, if you've got somebody that just is straight up just hating on Wistia, you know, for whatever, 2 replies and then no more after that, and make sure to switch to a private channel.
I feel like the 2 replies thing is like one of those rules of thumb, where as an author you're just throwing something out there that you're like, nah, 2 replies, like don't do more. And then in his real life he's doing like 3 or 4, and or he's encouraging 3 or 4 in the right situation. Right results may vary. Where I feel like I'd be able to provide actual recommendations when I was looking at a real situation. as opposed to you're having a perfectly valid conversation where you're learning something and you're like, hey, this is my last reply, just so you know, like, can't follow up again. So I feel like hard and fast rule is probably only so that their book is clear, not to actually accomplish, or not to like make it so that it's a really followed thing, really a prescriptive thing.
Wait, do you straight up like throw that out there? Like, this is my last reply. Like,
I don't know. I don't do that kind of thing, but
okay.
that'd be funny if you did. For the moving to private stuff, we do that a lot. We do that a lot because support can be really hard, and so there's different levels of support, and the really hard stuff, I really think you should centralize, because you want to be able to track that. You want to be able to share that with the rest of the team. You want to be able to know how much of that is happening and what's the biggest chunk of that, so we can kind of attack that problem and make it better, as opposed to, I'm only spending like an hour on Facebook working through that kind of problem, or a couple hours on Twitter, or a couple hours in a forum or whatever. If it's spread all over the place, you don't notice how big of a challenge whatever that problem is. So we move everything to email when it gets past that point.
What if it's something like somebody post on, I guess we'll stick with Twitter here, that was like, oh, I can't believe Jeff did this. Like, he's horrible for your product. Like, y'all should fire him, and rawr. Like, what, like, is that the same kind of thing? Like, if it's not a technical thing, if it's just emotional, like, is that still a switch to a private?
I think I would respond. Well, maybe not me personally, because then that would just enrage them. But like, I think the company should respond. And I don't know, I guess it depends on the situation, but I think it'd be pretty clear that if somebody posted, Carolyn did this, she was terrible, she should be fired, I don't even have to work there to respond and say, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, I really feel strongly that I would tell them, Carolyn, we love Carolyn. She means well, like, she's not going anywhere. That being said, would love to hear more about your thoughts on this, DM or private, whatever private channel means to you, but setting out in advance, like, this is our position. I've done that plenty of times before where someone's written by email, hey, this person gave me a horrible response. Like, I really think that there should be some sort of like, repercussions for them. And I responded immediately with, just want to let you know how much this person cares and how hard they worked on, even your question. They were, asking people for help and trying to research this problem. So let's take that off the table right now. That being said, like, your original goal was just to get help. Maybe I can help.
Mm-hmm.
And, for most people who are so, stable, that is helpful.
Yeah. So since I stalled and had some time to think about everything else, so I'm good with the switching to a private channel, just because public feuds are rarely good for anybody involved, whether it's the customer or the company or any Twitter gossipers or whatever, third-party people watching. Rarely does anything productive come out of that. So I think for me personally, like, it's once you, and usually one or two replies in, you kind of know where the conversation's going. I think at that point it's okay to say, hey, email us so we can talk about this further, and then just stop that there. And if they want to keep ranting and raving, that's fine. I just don't think I would engage that any further, because it's not going to be a productive kind of conversation at that point. There are some people that are like social media rock stars or ninjas or gurus or whatever else you want to call them, that can probably pull off some amazing feng shui and like make that stuff, like make that conversation happen great in a public space. And I guarantee you Carolyn's one of those that could do that. I just don't think I could bring that back. That would just be tough for me. Hashtag guru, hashtag ninja, hashtag rockstar, or whatever else.
Challenge Kate your notion that I'm able to do that, because I have many times.
I don't know. I've seen Buffer's social media skills. Like, y'all are pretty solid when it comes to support that way.
I'll tell you stories.
Oh, yeah. So the other kind of thing that I want to talk about here was this idea that you have to kind of be everywhere because I think that is one that especially a lot of our listeners kind of. So if I was a smaller team, if I was like a startup or a smaller company or whatnot, and I read this book, I would instantly be like, oh, I'm going to have like an Instagram and a Facebook and a Twitter and a blip and a glip and a whatever, right? Like I've got to have, is Allo still a thing? I don't know. Like whatever. Like, I have to go out and rush and do all this, like grab all of these accounts and then monitor them all somehow. And then also watch, if I'm a physical location, watch Yelp and TripAdvisor and Google reviews and God almighty. Like, so Chase, we'll start with you on this one. Like, is it really, really necessary to be everywhere?
I think for your customers, you should like respond in the places that you have. But if you don't have an Instagram, obviously, then there's nothing to respond to there. So personally, I don't think it's necessary to have an account everywhere if you're not going to be able to keep up with responses or engagement or whatever it is on that channel, because you don't want somebody coming to look at your Instagram and your latest post is a year old and you haven't responded to anything since then. That just doesn't look very good. So just my I guess gut feeling on that is if you're not active somewhere, then it's probably not even worth having a presence there if you're not going to be able to spend time on it.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not even like a placeholder account or anything like that with like a, hey, we're not here, go there. It's straight up just like, yeah, we're not here. Like black hole.
I mean, if they can't find you, they can't find you there, and they'll go, somebody will go somewhere else. I mean, probably you're going to want to be on, like Twitter and Facebook, obviously. Those are sort of the big places, depending on your business, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those are two good places to be. But other than that, I think it's sort of at your discretion what's worth it to you and what's not.
Jeff, so we know that Wistia does mostly email and kind of redirects that way. Is that just the game plan? Is that something that everybody should be doing, or is it like what? So what do you think? And I'm not asking you to look like 5 years down the road, but like as far as Wistia goes, are you going to like look at Facebook support, Twitter support, Instagram support, or anything else down the road?
So we're responsive. If there's a thing called Instagram support and it's not related to the product Instagram, like, I mean, I have never pretended to be a support visionary, but I just cannot see it. I'm sorry, I can't see it.
It'd be like Snapchat. It'd be like you do a video. And,
yes, that I see. And that we're like thinking actively about, right? Because it actually but like Instagram support, like responding in comments with like, oh, here's how you do this thing. Like, no, that's just crazy. That seems crazy to me. But we're responsive on Twitter and Facebook, but on both of those platforms, the response is actually coming from the person who really most of their energy, their brain energy, is going towards how do we grow our presence here, not how do we provide support. So that's kind of how I would draw the line there. There's probably a size where we would need to do that. So I'm definitely not going to rule that out. But personally, when I'm talking with Aaron, who runs all this stuff, when I'm talking with him, I'm emphasizing more like we need to get faster email replies, or we need to be experimenting with things like chat in app so that people can get responses for those easier set of questions, as close to instantly as possible. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking of.
Carolyn, what's Buffer thinking here? Because y'all are, I mean, you're the social media people. I mean, come on. So it's whether it's Snapchat and let's just throw this out there. Y'all were one of the only reasons I have Snapchat, just because I wanted to see what y'all were doing.
And then we stopped.
Yeah, and then you stopped, and I was like, well, I guess I can watch pictures of my niece. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm okay with that. Yeah, so kind of walk us through that. Like, you opened up a new presence, a new channel, and then stopped with it. So, like, what's that like?
That was a little bit different. That was more in reaction to the less than inclusive situations of Snapchat. But of the more generally, yeah, we find that any kind of to Chase Livingston's point, like anywhere we are, people are going to ask questions. So, you know, we have a blog post about something totally unrelated, and in the comments, people ask about support. And, you know, people ask questions in the Google Play or the App Store reviews, you know, like it's sort of this interesting thing where people generally do sort of just think of it and write it wherever they're interacting with you. So we do try to catch those. Sometimes email is also sometimes just like not entirely reliable. So sometimes people will say in a you know, Play Store review, I emailed support 3 times and I never heard back. And that's like really great to jump on, because you can say, oh, our emails aren't being delivered to you, like that. We should solve that for this customer and moving forward. So it's really good to monitor all those areas if you can. But yeah, I mean, you always see, you know, if you follow a brand like Facebook or someone on Instagram, like they post a beautiful photo of, you know, the Facebook Fox or whatever it is, and someone's like, can you help me get my account like back? It got hacked. And you're like, oh gosh, like it's so hard to do that in this particular spot. So yeah, I agree with Jeff too, that like there's some areas that you just it's not realistic to do. So yeah, we keep an eye on everything, but we certainly are not everywhere.
Yeah, it's so, again, to Jeff's comment about mileage varying and all that, and again, that feels like the I don't know, it should almost be like the sub tagline of our show, basically.
I was thinking that, like when Jeff was making the point that authors are clear, I was like, oh, that's just so that they don't get to the end of every episode and say,
yeah,
turns out the answer is it depends.
It's okay. It depends. Yeah, if you're a hotel, you probably need to watch Yelp. If you're a restaurant, you probably want to watch, I don't know, Open Table.
Yelp too, right?
Yep.
I feel like part of writing a book is turning off that part of your brain that's like, oh, but that wouldn't work in this situation. It wouldn't work in that situation. Just plowing right through it, saying like, nope, this is how it is. And you don't like it, read somebody else's book, but thanks for paying.
We should send that clip to Jay and be like, here's what we thought. Well, here's what Jeff thought. And then we'll see how you handle that tweet about you and how you should be fired and all that good jazz then. Real life scenario.
Send a gift card, right?
All right, last thoughts. Chase, anything you want to throw in on this one?
I think we pretty well covered it. That was a fun chat.
Carolyn? No, nothing. Jeff? All right, cool. If you haven't figured it out by now, we read Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer.
Oh no. Did I cut out?
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, you cut out. Wait, you're back. What's up?
Am I back? Okay. I wrote this line down that I really liked. The fact he's just talking about why do.
Now I really want to hear that line, and you're just gone again. Like we don't know. We don't know what that line was. Yep, just dead air. Sorry about that.
Oh, dead air.
Oh.
Put it in the show notes.
Put it in the show notes. Yeah, we'll have to do that because I think she's gone and really, really gone. Yeah, so Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer. Definitely recommend it. You know, we touched on some of the stuff that just didn't quite fit sometimes for how we do SaaS support and all that, but I still think overall, absolutely a fantastic read that you need to go through. If you listen to the show, some of this is probably going to be like, well, yeah, duh, we've been doing that for like 3 years now. But there's also some good stuff in there. Some of the stories, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from it was like the stories, the actual situations like Jeff mentioned. Yeah, it was situations that fit the neat little like theory that was put forth on that one. But they were still really interesting to see like specific examples and research-backed examples of those kind of theories in practice. So Carolyn's back, which means we don't have to put it in the show notes. We can hear what her interesting line was.
We're still choppy, so I might drop out. But haters are the unelected representatives of the meh in the middle.
Of the meh in the middle. I like that.
I thought that was a good reminder. He was talking about why to appreciate the vocal minority.
Yeah, it's so if that had been a poster in the book rather than the Hatrix right here, that Hatrix, I would have put that out. I would like pulled it out of the book and put it on the wall. That's awesome. All right, Hug Your Haters, Jay Baer. So because of some of the holidays and scheduling and everything else, this is the only episode we get to devote to that book, but definitely pick it up, read it. It's a much quicker read than Unleash Your, Creativity Inc., Unleash Your whatever, that we talked about the last 2 weeks. Oh, I'm going to get like a mean email from Ed about that one being like, why couldn't you say the name of my book? I was like,
this is Jeff's favorite tagline.
It's too long. Next week, we are on to Turn the Ship Around. We're going to give 2 episodes to that one. Fantastic book. Really excited for that one. And then we'll be off for the holiday winter break, which will be a lot of fun. So if you haven't yet, pick up a copy, Turn the Ship Around, read that before we reconvene next week. And until we see you again next time, have an awesome week.